I'm about to show you a sampling technique that'll change everything. In fact, it might be dangerous to even show you this. If this video disappears, you'll know why. So I got this sample and I thought it'd be perfect to try this sampling technique. Let me quickly play it for you first. First off, I'm going to load this up into my sampler and I'm going to change the BPM in a more classic way, where I change the pitch and the speed at the same time. Later, this will probably make my life much harder because now the notes in the sample are not perfectly tuned, so I'll have to figure that out, but that's a problem for future me. Now when it comes to chopping the sample, I'm going to place my chops on the progression changes within this sample here. You can hear those lower notes changing with each chop, and this will just help me build a loop that actually makes sense and feels like it goes somewhere. And now I'm going to start making some wild moves with this sample. Watch this. I'm going to grab an EQ and shave off the top. So you can hear in the sample we have those strings in the higher frequencies and the keys in the lower, and so I'm just going to isolate them with an EQ. Now I'm going to use those keys that I've isolated from my sample to build a progression. That was a mistake. Hold on. There we go. Now, in case you're wondering why things look a bit different around me, it's because I recently moved and I don't know where anything is. Plus, my editor recently told me he had to quit, and so that's why you're getting this god-awful video. But to make up for it, I'm going to include the most crazy, insane studio tour that you've ever seen. Watch this. So now that I have this loop built using this sample, instead of adding my own sounds in, I'm going to start using this ancient sampling technique by first cloning out this sample. Now you may not have ever seen this sampling technique before, so let me explain how it works. It's kind of like how back in the days when people would hunt buffalo. They wouldn't just eat the meats and the buffalo wild wings and then leave the bones. No, they would find ways to use the buffalo again and again for many different purposes. And that's exactly how I'm going to use this sample. So here I have cloned the sample out, and now let's pitch it down. Now you might be wondering why I went from -5 semitones, which was what the original sample was tuned to -17 semitones. If I want this second version, this cloned out layer to work perfectly with the first version much more easily, the easiest way to do this is to just jump down 1 octave. That way all the exact same notes are still playing, just 1 octave lower. Now you might be wondering, how do I make these insane calculations? Well, according to the latest AI advancements, we've recently discovered that there are 12 keys in every octave. And again, if you remember, my original sample was at -5 semitones. And so if I use the latest in AI advancements again and take -5 and subtract 12 from it, that means 1 octave lower would be at -17 semitones. Do you see my genius now? So with this pitch down version of the sample, I like these strings here. But listening to it, it does have a bit of gloop and mud in the lower frequencies, which makes sense because I pitched it way down. So I'm gonna open up an EQ the same way I did before, and I'll get rid of a lot of those lower frequencies since I don't need them, and I just want the strings, and I'll boost those strings to accentuate them. So here's what I got with this beat so far, and I'm liking it. Now I'm going to try a new segment on this channel. I've recently been rubbing elbows with many celebrities, and so this is the first ever celebrity appearance. I want you to say welcome to Timothée Chalamet. Thank you for coming on, Timothy. What do you think of this beat so far?
You are doing a bad job.
All right, so let's clone this sample and do this technique again. And this time the sampling technique is going to be even wilder. I'm going to turn on keyboard mode here. Now when I play any one of these chops, I can play it at different pitches like it's an instrument. And so what I'm going to do is look for a cool sound or texture in the sample and try to use it to build my own melodic idea. So let's go hunting for another sound here. This sounds way too weird. This might work, maybe not. That sounds pretty cool. So let's use this sound to build a pattern. Now you can watch me struggle as I come up with an idea. Alright, I think I got it here. Alright, so I like the layers and sounds that I have in this beat so far. We do need some drums and some bass, obviously, so let's just do that next. Recently, I've been using drum plugins to start rather than individual one-shots. The reason why is because I find it's easier to just experiment and come up with a full drum pattern if you have all your drum sounds laid out for you on the keyboard in front of you, rather than having to build each sound one at a time, like the hi-hats and then the snares and then the kicks. Now, while I'm not a fan of these textures, I just want to get my idea down right now. All right, so let's start with a very basic fundamental pattern here. I think a hi-hat pattern like this could be pretty cool. As you can see, my sense of rhythm is immaculate and precise. And from here, I'm going to start experimenting and try to push this drum pattern idea a bit. I've been feeling a bit bored with the traditional ideas I typically find myself automatically going to, so I'm going to try to push it and try to create something a little bit more unique. Now that I got this pattern built and I like it, let's now find our own sounds and replace the actual pattern itself here. Now to do this, I could do this myself, or I could use the brand new AI plugin. Who needs creativity if you have an AI in your hands? Just load it up and it makes the beat for you. You'll never have to use your brain again. AI, it's very good. Was that good enough? Will you let my family go now? You are doing a bad job. Anyways, I'm going to use some sounds from my latest pack that I dropped recently, Boom Bat Box 2. Feel free to check it out if you want to support. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below. So now I'm just going to cut and paste this pattern over into my new sounds. So here's what I got now. Alright, cool. Up next, let's do the bass line. So I will grab this juicy little bass guitar here. Now already you're probably thinking I'm about to make a foolish mistake here. I'm so dumb that I probably forgot the thing that I did way back that's going to completely ruin this beat. You think I'm stupid and that I don't remember that my sample has been repitched by a few cents. And if I tried adding my own instruments, they're gonna sound off, but I remember I'm very good at thinking and being smart. So let me take our bass guitar here and repitch it. Now to make an actual bass line, I don't know music theory, so I'm going to use Note Grabber to see what notes are in the sample first. So let's draw in a potential bass line idea and see how this sounds. But as you can see, this note that I just drew in is not completely flush with the actual note in the sample, which is indicating to me that my sample is not fully on key. But we kind of already knew that, so for now, let's hear how this sounds. Alright, I don't like the way this note sounds, so let's try a different one here. This one sounds a bit better, so let's extend it all the way and then draw in this next note and then the one after. Alright, so let's give this bass line a try. Let's bring this pattern into our bass. That last note doesn't sound great to me. So let's try to move it elsewhere. Let's look at what other notes are in this chord. We can see we have an A here. So what if we move this to an A? I think that sounds much better. Alright, this beat is sounding quite nice. I think a cool idea from here would be to drop that string layer from the sample and maybe only use it for the hook. And then from here, maybe I'll add in my own sounds. So I'll grab another sound from my pack. And I know what you're thinking. At the beginning of this video, I said that I would reuse the buffalo and only use sounds from my sample. But if you rewind this video, you'll notice that I was lying at the time, and I will be using my own sounds now. So I'll use this bell plus this random sound that I found to make this beat slightly more complete when the string drops from the beat. And now here's the beauty of the sampling technique. Since I have my samples split up into multiple layers, I can just create tons of variation by taking one of those sample layers and then creating a different pattern, or maybe switching up the patterns around these samples. So for example, I could do something like this. And I can use this as a quick switch up, and then I could do this after. The possibilities are endless. And then the beat will go back into that main idea when we bring in that layer of strings back in. And by the way, if you wanted to check out that sample pack of mine, it is in the description box below. Other than that, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna sit here for a while.